Hello all, this is our November cards. The overall theme card came out is slightly depressing, so just warning you right now. So for the entire month we have the Destroyer stepping forward. Um, it doesn't have to be a horrific card if you consciously work with it and just know that it's there. So what could have been happening is like we had Thanatos this last week of October. A lot of people's triggers, a lot of people's pain points, even people who didn't get so affected by themselves, have been reporting to me, hey, I had to actually hold a lot of space for other people because they were just going through different things. I had one friend who, in particular had to kind of just say, I can't spend time with other people because she was at her capacity for handling herself. And normally she's like the ever ready bunny that can help everybody. And she's just like, nope, I'm not doing anything extra until, the energy's let up and it feels okay to, because she was just experiencing a lot of miscommunication. Like she's trying to say something and other people were hearing differently. She would interpret things incorrectly from other people, and she was just, and that's one of her big triggers as well, is she doesn't like being misunderstood. And then here's spirit like stirring things up like madly in this cosmic soup of conundrums that we had to go through for an entire week. So I feel like a lot of people have had all these things shown to them, and then November is like, okay, the destroyer is going to come in to show us what do we need to get rid of. So for myself, a lot of that, I was been talking with the ladies before I recorded this, with the procrastinator and the addict and like my big trigger points flaring up. Um, what I feel like is I've got a little bit more clarity to like how do I overcome this and like clear it out and alchemize it. So for myself, the destroyer needs to come in to help me to destroy these patterns that are causing me issues and not fun. So in some ways, when I do see the destroyer, a little part of me gets excited because it is ending of cycles. It is the ending of things that need to end. So I've got a real Aries kind of practical part of myself. And then in my human design, I've got the gate of extremes. So if spirit really goes, hey, you need to look at this and do something about it, quite often I'll dive right off the deep end and just do it. I've got that kind of lovely pushy energy. Other people don't find it lovely at times, but I like that part of me to get things done. And so I'm going to choose to consciously work with the destroyer energy, and I really advise you guys to do the same thing. First week, I mean, we were just talking about this. So this is the ring, which is cycles. In the center of the card, you've got the cosmos in the middle, which I always see as like that cosmic truth source, your original blueprint, your original selves in the middle. And then all these interlinking and woven rings. And I really just see this as cycles, programs, belief systems. So everything that Thanatos kind of stirred up for the entire planet last week, and parts of the entire month, in all honesty, I really feel like that breaking of cycles and being like really seeing which cycles need to go. I'm just going to write down these as I'm going. Now, our second week, which is roughly, I'm going to say between the 10th and the 16th, if these overlap for a few days or you noticing them, kind of blending together, these are archetypal forces. So just don't get too stringent and focused on the dates. I'm going to say week 2, and we've got the animal. So this is twofold when it comes through. It is lessons of self-love and really coming into acceptance of self. But it can also be like a bit of a warning that you need to process, not sorry, you need to prioritize is the correct word, self-nourishment and looking after yourself. So you could have it, both aspects could come forth, or you could have one or the other. So you might find yourself really needing to sort of self-care, time alone, massages, good food, go and have a bath, go and have an energy healing, like book into something that'll just clear you out, that kind of self-care. Or it could also be, continuing with the theme of, Thanatos has been there. We've got the ring, we've got the destroyer. When we're doing this work upon ourselves, sometimes when we look at our shadow aspects, we do need to kind of just go, this is me, warts and all, scars. And it's a real deep level of self acceptance. So you might have themes of that, just accepting the self, accepting reality, accepting sometimes when we have forgiveness or shame or blame or um, things that need to be healed. Quite often when I'm working with clients, you get to the end of it, and the thing that's like the final hook is they're really angry and disappointed with themselves. It's no longer even about like the other person or about the situation. It's like this self-forgiveness is the final like untangling that needs to happen, because sometimes we don't like how we've acted in situations. Sometimes we haven't stood up for ourselves. Sometimes we've done wrong. We've said things that were not good. We've done things that are not good. Sometimes we stay in situations for longer, and we know that we end up victimizing ourselves. So the more spiritual and conscious in your journey is, the more aware you are as a co-creator, even in the most unfun lessons in life and some of the really hard things. And it is kind of weird when you are doing your work and you're getting your spiritual growth and your clarity and you're on your self-mastery journey, to realize, hang on, I called this bully in so that I can have all these lessons, but then I also have to be the victim in this instance, and I'm living out this story because I'm going to have all these lessons. And you do have to have a level of self-acceptance and self-love and understanding that I'm making decisions on such a high quantum soul level that my 3D version of myself is not going to fully understand why, even though I can be stuck in the emotions and the ick of it all. And, a reference back to the river meditation that we did. I'm just going to sneeze. Sorry, I think something's starting to flower. So when in the river meditation, one of the things that I thought was the most profound was as you go in and you like fully surrender, uh, you can get so trapped in all the emotions of the unfun things and the injustice and why me, and I'm a good person, and why is this happening to a good family and the good this, and you get trapped in all the emotions that you can't fully own and surrender into on a high level. I asked for this, and it's all part of a divine plan, and I have to trust, let go and trust that when I get down to the end of wherever this river is going to, that it was for a reason. It's the ultimate surrender in when you're in a really hard time of it. So um, I really feel like that energy can come through with that second week with the animals, this full self-acceptance. So there might be some real big letting go of, forgiveness issues within self, frustrations, bitterness, shame, all those yummy shadow work aspects that we do upon ourselves. So really feel into that. And it'd be a really good idea if you consciously self-cared that week. So between the 10th and the 16th, if you're feeling like you need a healing, or if you're feeling like you want to pamper yourself or just get away in nature and go and hug a tree or visit the ocean or something, really consciously try and work with the animal and maybe do that during that second week as well. Now, the third week is the mystic. This is always fun when the mystic comes through because it is higher epiphanies and esoterical knowledge. So it can be twofold. Like most of the archetypal energies, they can have more aspects to them. So it can be like someone says something, you read something, you channel something, and it just like, oh, and you go down a rabbit hole of sucking up new information. And it's this huge, wonderful epiphany. So you might have that coming through where you are absorbing and siphoning and just consuming something new, something exciting, some kind of esoterical knowledge. The other thing about the mystic is, and this can also tie in with the entire theme building on, like we have with Thanatos and the Destroyer, the Ring, and the Animal, is with that mystic, you come to a real quantum, higher, esoterical understanding of yourself, of why things are happening, what's connected to the stars and the planets and stars and stone, and what's going on, and it makes sense. You just have massive aha moments, but it's very quantum, it's very woo-woo, it's very outside of the box. So it can also literally mean the activation of the mystic. So you can activate the seer as well and have like lots of channeled ideas, or things are heightened on that kind of channeling level. So I know some of the ladies in the group do journaling of light language, and some are, big dreamers. Just be aware. So the third week is kind of roughly 17th to the 23rd, give or take a few days with that third energy. If you're dreaming more, if you're drawn to doing something new, learning something new, just really embrace it. I love the mystic when it activates. The other thing is, this could be just like the beginning of that activation. So the mystic might stay longer than just the week, but it's just like saying, hey, you're going to activate this, and you might go journey with the mystic for a month or two. And sometimes you can have it activate and it stays a long time, and sometimes it's just for little short periods to really show you what's going on esoterically and on a quantum level. Our final week, we're ending the month on another initiation, which it's a far more pleasant one. Thank the Lord Jesus, Mary, Joseph, and the Holy Goat. The Holy Goat is a family in joke, and I know I say it all the time, so you're all part of my family. I'm actually going to read out, as soon as I drew this card, it's like you need to read this one out, because when I'm drawn to reading out one of the initiations, sometimes someone will hear the words and like ping, this is the sentence or what I really needed to hear from this. And you might have different ones within the group watching the recording that's like, this is important, and another person might find something or other else. And then I'll finalize it with what I think is the big theme as well. So it is agape. Agape is devotion and unconditional love. What if, instead of putting yourself at the center of your spiritual practice, you put God, Goddess, or nature at the center? How would this change your approach? Such is the energy of agape. It is alive when we are in awe and wonder, our breath taken away by the sacred force that surrounds us and asks for nothing in return. This card can indicate a spiritual initiation that stretches your capacity to love and serve. You sense the earthly as the heavenly and vice versa. Such an initiatory moment can appear in any form, and like a healing balm to the modern soul, its effects can last a lifetime. The agape card may also suggest you reassess what you worship every day, consciously or unconsciously. What are you elevating? where does this sacred ladder you climb ultimately lead to? And I really find that when this card comes through in readings for people, um, it is usually a lesson of what you focus on is what you manifest. And this is really brought up into the surface for you to look at. But this card and this energy is looking at it in terms and the frequency of devotion. So if you are devoting yourself to just focusing on being the victim, or how harsh reality is, or how sad reality is, or how awful this thing is, then you're feeding energy into it. You're worshipping the darkness, you're worshipping the hardness, the lesson, the ick. When this initiation steps forth, it's just like, okay, but what if you prioritize God, goddess, or nature as instead of me and my human experience and the icky, awful thing that I'm going through? What if I really just go into and tapping back into that river energy of just completely surrendering and trusting that you're going to understand when you get to the destination, but you have to let go? This is in essence of that devotion of just complete faith. And instead, what are you worshipping? Well, I'm worshipping hope. I'm worshipping faith. I'm worshipping the end outcome. And I really work with my different clients on, if this is the end outcome, you have to, through this initiation, really understand that you have this incredible power within you to co-create, but it's a level of spiritual discipline that you have to really be vigilant about. And if you fall off the bicycle and you go into woe is me, or this is awful, or this horrific things happens, that's fine, it's human, but you get back on the bike and you go back to devoting yourself to the end result. And it's a really incredible initiation of self-mastery and devotion to the end cause. Now, on an archetypal level, anyone that has the priestess archetype, I find that this comes up quite a lot as a repetitive initiation, because the priestess's journey is to understand and grow his or hers, because I'll say priest for a man, but it's the same thing, is you become stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger as this archetypal power grows within you, of holding that vision for the other people. And I really do this for my clients, and as my priestess archetype has grown, like they'll completely wig out, or these awful things happen, or they'll just do a 180 and go in a different direction, or something that is happening to them, and I just don't budge. I just hold that end result. I've got beautiful sisters souls who are in semi-toxic relationships, and they've decided to go for another cycle of journeying with this man or this person, and it's not my job to judge their journey. It is my job as a priestess to hold the vision of the end result, which is that she loves herself so much that she radically heals every aspect that needs to be healed according to her soul's journey. And she comes to it in this lifetime, such an empowered sovereign woman that she no longer needs to go through these cycles, and finds the person that brings her healing and happiness instead of bitterness and lessons. And my vision, I don't care how long it takes her to go through it, but she will have that before she passes into the next beyond blue yonder, her next cycle in the wheel. And that's the level of faith and devotion that comes forth with this card. So if anyone really feels like they have a strong priestess, which is being driven to be of service, service for the planet and service for others, a lot of people who have a healer archetype will have this. You'll also find that the priestess can, if you don't even think you're a priestess, it can be a bit of a subtle archetype. So quite often a lot of people will come to a priestess and almost give confession. So they will just feel really innately comfortable to share deeply personal things, and they just know that you're not going to judge them, and you're not going to speak their stuff to everybody. So that's another thing that is huge for the priestesses. I used to think it was really weird when people would come and tell me like deeply personal stuff about their sexuality, or like really just out of nowhere, and this archetype descends into me and I go into no judgment. And when I'm driving away afterwards, I'm like, WTF, but I'm in the moment. There is zero judgment, and I really is like taking confession. So, if you found that like you have these archetypal traits like enjoying being of service, that there's no better thing for me than if I really help somebody, I get a biofeedback from it. It's a soul food for me. It's my priestess doing her job. It's like an ancient part of me activates where, I used to be in the temples and people would come to me for help, and I'd be able to help them. And then, like it's just an ancient feeling welling up. So the agape works a lot with the priestess. So you might find yourself having to have these lessons often of what am I devoting my attention to? And it can't be, and this is the strict part of spiritual responsibility, it can't be the darker aspects. You have to be holding that vision constantly, and sometimes it's hard. Not gonna lie, life is human, and we're all, we don't like some of the different shadow aspects. So really, look at that in that final week, and where am I showing my devotion? Where am I showing my energy? Where I focus, I manifest. Is going to be the key kind of catchphrase for that last week. And to be vigilant about making sure that you're not anti-manifesting, which is another term I have, which is when you're focusing on the thing that you don't want to focus on, And it's like, and I'm going to put this conversation in a box with cancel, clear, delete. This is just a conversation, but it's like, say you are really worried about your windscreen getting cracked, and you keep thinking about it, and you keep thinking about it, and you keep thinking about it, and then a rock will fly up and crack the windscreen, and you're sitting there going, well, this is a chicken or an egg moment. Did I know it was coming and I was just thinking about it, or did I focus on it and I manifested it? Well, when you're really showing with the agate card, it has to be in that total faith. If you get your windscreen cracked, you can fix it. You have the skills to do it. Don't be devoting energy and having to do all this work and stuff, beforehand, and showing anti-manifesting by focusing on I have to fear of this, da 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 da. So the entire conversation is in a box, cancel, clear, delete, it's thrown into the depths of the ocean. That is also like, what are you devoting your energy to? What are you focusing on? Don't anti-manifest. So keep an eye on that for that last week. And in the group, don't forget that you can 100% come in and in the chat section, if you feel like you know what the destroyer is talking about, and hey, this month I need to be working on this, then 100% let's do it, and acknowledge and hold space and hold that vision for each other. So if you feel called to share, what your destroyer is working on, please don't hesitate to do that as well. All right, let's press